Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now in the city of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson is on the verge of adding another massive financial disaster to his already long list of failures because for months now, Brandon Johnson has been saying the Chicago Bears need to stay in Chicago. That is the only option. Anything else does not make sense. And of course, he's going to say that because no mayor wants to be remembered as the mayor who lost the Chicago Bears. We're talking about the Bears, ladies and gentlemen, who have played in Chicago for over 100 years. But with the latest news coming from the Bears, it's a wrap. He's cooked. At this point, they are done with Chicago, and there is absolutely nothing Brandon Johnson can do about it. And now, to make this even worse for the Democrats, you have Brandon Johnson and the governor, J.B. Pritzker, taking shots at each other over how this whole situation was handled. And so not only is Chicago losing one of the most iconic sports franchises in America, but now you got the Democrat mayor and the Democrat governor pointing fingers at each other while the city gets embarrassed on the national stage. This is what failed leadership looks like. And the Bears may be the latest example of a major institution looking at Chicago and saying, we out. As always, if you enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way you can let me know. Subscribe to stay locked in with all future videos. And so let's start right here.
Is my face straight? Okay. All right, keep a straight face here. The Bears belong in the city of Chicago. The Chicago Bears belong in the city of Chicago, right? And I've said repeatedly that the door is always open for conversations, Kevin Warren did call me yesterday. We didn't get a chance to connect, and I still firmly believe that their best position is in Chicago, and it's evidence. The evidence is clearly speaking for itself.
The governor today frustrated by Mayor Johnson's Chicago push.
I know that the mayor has no plan. He has come up with no plan at all about how the Bears would end up in the city of Chicago, so that's problematic. I'd love them to be in the city, but we're 3 years in now, and he still has no plan.
The mayor's office responding in part saying the city's proposal remains the only plan centered on public ownership alongside a funding mechanism that does not burden property taxpayers while keeping the Bears in Chicago. And while Mayor Johnson says he will continue to work with stakeholders to keep the Bears where they are, the governor taking another swipe related to budget requests, suggesting significant Chicago and Springfield communication problems.
Again, we've seen almost nothing out of the mayoral administration here on that subject or really any other. And so to show up in May and have a bunch of demands seems like late in the game, and it's unfortunate that's happened most years.
So you have the governor, J.B. Pritzker, calling out Brandon Johnson, and it's hilarious. I mean, you got Democrats that going at each other. Who knew? Only a matter of time before that happened, right? He's basically saying this guy is not doing his job. And not just with the whole Bears mismanagement situation, but just overall, the mayor hasn't been doing his job, which is freaking hilarious. I don't even think that was even asked. He just gave that information freely. Yeah, this guy kind of sucks. So let's get into the next part where Johnson basically points the finger right back at Pritzker saying, well, you do not have a plan either. And so this really just goes to show the incompetence. Check it out.
But with weeks to go till a deadline, Mayor Johnson still sees Chicago as an option. Is there a realistic pathway to do what it is you hope to do, keep them here?
Yes.
There is?
Yeah.
Can you walk me through that?
We've already did it. We did it 2 years ago. It's still the best plan. In fact, have you seen the Arlington Heights plan?
I've seen those renderings.
Have you seen their plan?
I have not.
There's only one plan right now. And that's the plan to keep the Bears in the city of Chicago.
These are the renderings for that 2-year-old plan. The Bears have moved so far away from it, it's barely mentioned on their stadium website anymore. When the mayor talks about Arlington Heights not having a plan, he's right. Partly. We dug up this 2022 zoning amendment between Arlington Heights and the Bears. Sources say it is the key building block for a stadium deal. Public-facing plans, we're told, are on hold until the critical Springfield vote.
If I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm packing up and leaving and going straight to Indiana. Because if you are trying to run a business and have to work with the leadership in place, I mean, they got no choice. This is the leadership that's in place in Chicago, in Illinois. Part of that decision is going to be who's more prepared and who is moving with more intention when I'm making my decision. In Chicago, Illinois, they ain't really got it together like Indiana seems to. They're hungry out there in Indiana. They rolling out the red carpet to make things happen. You got the Republican leadership over there. They're working to show the Bears they have a business-friendly environment. I mean, isn't that what you would want if you're a city and you're looking to keep your team franchise in the city or in the state? Show them that you have a business-friendly environment and that it will be a worthwhile partnership. Meanwhile, you got Brandon Johnson, J.B. Pritzker, they're arguing like teenagers about who has a plan and who doesn't because they thought the Bears would just never leave. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, they're scrambling. They were cocky, they were overconfident and unprepared, and now they're scrambling to figure this whole thing out. Let's continue.
Mayor Brandon Johnson remains determined to find a way to keep the Chicago Bears from moving, and he insists that recent discussions were only about keeping the Bears in Chicago. That despite statements from the Bears that indicate the only location they are looking at in Illinois is Arlington Heights. Mayor Brandon Johnson's unrelenting campaign to prevent the Bears from moving out of Chicago, one of several complicating factors for Illinois lawmakers who are debating a bill in the final 2 weeks of this legislative session that would provide a long-term property tax freeze for the Bears. The team says that guarantee is needed before it would move ahead with plans to build a new stadium in Arlington Heights. The mayor today describing recent talks with the Bears this way.
Recent conversations as recently as April have always been designed around what terms can we agree upon for our publicly owned stadium that the people of Chicago will benefit from.
The lead negotiator in the Illinois Senate says they were told those discussions were about the Bears' existing lease at Soldier Field, which runs through 2033.
During the course of that investigation, they shifted to hypothetical discussions about what might happen if the Arlington Heights site does not get improved. And those hypothetical discussions included reconsidering a site on the lakefront.
Mayor Johnson dismissed the proposed stadium site in Hammond, Indiana as unviable, and he said there is no plan in place for Arlington Heights. He remains eternally hopeful for Chicago.
My hope has never been lost. That's why I have maintained my position that Chicago is the best location for the Bears. The Bears believe that as well.
In a strongly worded statement, the Bears dismissing that this afternoon, saying the Chicago Bears have exhausted every opportunity to stay in Chicago, which was our initial goal. There is not a viable site in the city. As a result, the only sites under consideration are in Arlington Heights and Hammond. Another complication for the Bears involves the team's failure to provide a traffic impact study for the area around the Arlington Heights property, which lawmakers need before they can vote on infrastructure funding estimated to be around $850 million.
We're going to continue to work through these obstacles, but the Bears are going to have to step up their efforts in the legislature, working with senators and representatives if they want to see the bill passed.
Senator Cunningham suggesting that if the Bears do not move quickly, this legislative session could end on May 31st without a package to help the Bears.
And so now that you've seen how Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker have fumbled this entire issue, let's go to this next clip where you got the Indiana governor explaining everything they've been doing to prepare for the Bears and show that they are better business partners and really showing how they plan to be a better business environment for the team going into the future. Check it out.
Governor Braun says he expects the Bears to make a stadium decision in the next 3 or 4 weeks. The team has said it will be Arlington Heights or Hammond, and Braun thinks Indiana has the edge.
Speaking to business leaders in Merrillville, Indiana Governor Mike Braun optimistic about a Bears move to Hammond.
I'll be surprised if there's anything that will equate with what we did in a place that's got a AAA credit rating.
Braun says Bears leadership was at the governor's residence as recently as last week and told our John Garcia he would hope Indiana's stadium chances are greater than 50-50.
I think they felt like they were talking to somebody that knew business, could get the state apparatus going quickly, and that's kind of where we've been.
While nearly 3 months have passed since Indiana's legislature approved a stadium measure, Illinois' mega projects bill is still in limbo, with a week and a half left in this critical legislative session. The measure that would pave the way for an Arlington Heights stadium is opposed by Mayor Brandon Johnson and some Chicago legislators who want the team in the city.
I'm hopeful that the people who want to tank the bill are not successful.
If it doesn't happen, it will be a very dark day for Illinois, and I think that the Bears will be really, really challenged with staying in Illinois.
Braun says the ease with which Indiana has moved is something the Bears will consider in its decision.
I think the merits of where would you want to be long term, I think that's what, in my mind, if I were in their shoes, I'd be putting a lot of emphasis on that.
The current session in Springfield ends May 31st, so time is running out for Illinois lawmakers. That bill needs to pass the Senate and the House.
So it does not look good for the Bears to stay in the state of Illinois. We know they are not staying in Chicago. That ship has sailed. It's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to that idea. You know, you got Brandon Johnson out there. He spends so much time trying to make billionaires and the rich, trying to make them pay, trying to stick it to them. And all it's done is basically backfire on him time and time again. And this is just the latest example of that. All the while, Brandon Johnson still believes that the rich, these businesses, they are not paying their fair share. And he wants to make sure that they do. Take a listen.
State Street to the White House. People have strong feelings about you. No doubt your team pays attention to what folks say online. What impact does that have on you? Do you care?
Well, listen, why would I? Look, I get that there are interests in this city and in this country that are used to getting their way. And of course, we have big corporate, entities that do not want to share in the distribution of wealth, right? I mean, we've seen how that has played out over the course of decades in this city, from school closures to not responding to the obligation to secure people's retirement, to the dismantling of public housing and the dismantling of our public health care system, especially mental health. When Mayor Harold Washington died, there were 19 public mental health clinics. When I was sworn into office, we were down to 6. And so that's why I reopened mental health clinics. It's why we expanded the crisis assistance response and engagement. We moved it from a pilot to a citywide system. We're the first city, the first body of government to pass a social media amusement responsibility tax, a tax on these big tech companies that now the state of Illinois is looking to mimic that very idea. We put forth executive orders that now 10% of the country, they're currently living under executive orders that I passed here in Chicago to protect the people of this city from the tyranny that's coming from the White House. So of course that's going to frustrate people, but I remember a time in which government was a lot quieter and it was harming people. And so if we have to make a little bit of noise and create some distance from the policies of the past in order to improve the quality of life for working people, then that's what we'll do.
Do you want to be mayor 1 year from now?
Well, I want to continue to do the work that's working, right? And that's building safe and affordable communities. That's what my focus is, and that's what it will remain. The type of economic development that we're seeing throughout the city of Chicago is unprecedented. The 78 Lincoln Yards, those particular sections of the city sat dormant and vacant through multiple administrations. On one end, we're building affordable homes and housing. On the other end, we're building a brand new football stadium. We call it soccer in America, but it's those type of investments that I'm focused in on. On the south side of Chicago, we're gonna build a brand new hospital, Advocate Health, a $300 million investment. It's the first hospital built on the south side in 100 years. And so that's what my focus is building safe and affordable communities. A lot more work to do, but we are certainly moving in the right direction.
Yeah, so I don't think Brandon Johnson has a shot at getting a second term as mayor. That's my personal opinion. He's going to be known as the mayor, basically, who lost the Bears to Indiana. The Bears came out right away and knocked down whatever idea he was trying to put out there that they were going to stay in Chicago. They were like, no, buddy, not going to happen. I mean, he also allowed illegals to flood the city and refused to work with federal agents in order to remove criminals. And right now, you're starting to see more people. You're starting to see more people in places like Chicago speak out against Brandon Johnson and the Democrat leadership in the city of Chicago. That is just from the opposition, let alone you got the governor who has been butting heads with Johnson. Really, the only thing they agree on is that they do not like Trump, and clearly that is not enough to save the Bears from leaving. But those are my thoughts in the update. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your comment down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. Don't forget, you enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up. For more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.